Whoa. All right. What's up, C. Grover? Good morning. Nice to see you, my friend. Good morning. The owner. All right. Good morning to everyone, or good day. It's not morning for you. All right. Yes. Welcome. I think we are almost set now. I just want to move OBS actually to where I can see it. The mic looks good, actually. Let's do that. All right. So welcome. For anyone that's new, if you don't know, my name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. I usually stream around this time each week, working on something related to CircuitPython. If you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more at the main website here, circuitpython.org. It is basically a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Today we are using the relatively new Fruit Jam, and we're working on a game on here, but the gist of these devices is it's essentially a little computer inside the chip on here, and you can plug it into your computer. This one has a USB-C port right there. You plug it into your computer with a USB cable. It shows up like a thumb drive. You can edit Python code that's on that drive, and when you save it, the microcontroller, the computer that's in here, will execute that Python code for you, and then the code can interface with whatever other hardware you connect to it. So this device obviously has a lot of different hardware. It's got USB ports, it's got a bunch of I/O pins broken out, it's got buttons, audio jack, HDMI plug, a SD card, a Wi-Fi adapter, some NeoPixels. So this one has all sorts of extra hardware built in, but there are, of course, more minimal devices where it's like kind of just the microcontroller and you add whatever you want. And there are a bunch of different ones here, 620 currently, that support CircuitPython. So this is kind of just one way that you can program your microcontrollers. And I will try, as I try to always mention, we'll say thanks to Adafruit. Adafruit is a hardware and software company based out of New York. They make CircuitPython possible, the project we were just talking about, by paying a team of folks, including myself, to work on it. And if you want to help support them and CircuitPython, one of the easiest ways is just purchase hardware from them, which you can do at their website, adafruit.com. They have microcontrollers, including the Fruit Jam, like the one that I pulled up a minute ago. This device that I'll be working on today is an Adafruit device. Like they design that hardware and they also sell it, but they also have all kinds of other things that you can hook up to your hardware, like Raspberry Pi display. I think these are actually the case only, not the display itself. But there are displays as well inside the store, so this is like a nice stand if you get the display and the Pi. And sensors and doodads and widgets and all kinds of whirly-gigs and basically every kind of little thing that you can plug into a electronic device and do something with. So thanks to them, as always. Thanks to everyone who supports them so that they can support open source work like CircuitPython. And then for me today, I'm diving back into something I've worked on the stream before a couple of times, but it has been a while. I kind of set this one down. I started this a long time ago, this Jewelcrafting game, and then at one point I started updating it to get it into the Fruit Jam, and then I kind of got into Fruit Jam mania, where I was making Fruit Jam project after Fruit Jam project after Fruit Jam project, so I set this one down just because I had a lot of other stuff going on in the Fruit Jam world. But it has slowed down a little bit. I've done a couple other things over the last week or two or three, so I thought this would be a fun one to get back to today. And where I am starting first and foremost is trying to get it back to working. So the place where I had left off, I think I must have been using a different controller, because now the controller is wonky. It's like mashing the up and left buttons all the time, essentially. And I think it's also pressing some other buttons. So I don't think the controls are working correctly. And I believe the reason why the controls are not working correctly are that the last time I worked on this, I was actually using a different controller. I was using this like PS3 style controller that I have. And really we want to be using what I have plugged in right now, which is the SNES-like controller that is also over here. Adafruit store, just this basic $5 sort of looks like the controller from the SNES. It's not like official hardware or anything. Well, obviously, because it has USB, but wait, that would have been cool if Super Nintendo had USB. Let's say this. We want to find the code that does this here. This, did I go? Oh, I did go back. Okay, I went back and updated this stuff. Okay. So I'm pretty sure the deal is that this is set up for a different controller. So I'm actually just going to copy this. I'm going to call this generic PS3 USB HID controller. And then also make one for generic SNES. And at some point it would be good to think about a way to like generalize this to where maybe you could like pass it in somehow, the configuration, like these magic numbers, which essentially match up with where in the data the controller returns to find different values. So for one thing, the indexes here are actually different, because this does up and down in a single index. And then based on the value, it must be, I guess, like halfway. It's almost like they set it up for a joystick, but it's actually a D-pad. Interesting. Right, we're going to try to merge this in one go here. I don't know if this is going to actually get out exactly how I want it to. So this was... Oh, and ABXY are actually all on one anyway as well, so we actually can get rid of all of these. Start select... Well, I did other, I guess, has probably got it in this. Okay, let's get rid of that. That's just hard-coded, probably. I don't know for sure if we need it, but... So in here, this one finds a device, find a device. That configuration? Get configuration. Okay, this is all just verbose scan. This is just going to print stuff out about every device that's connected. We actually don't need that part. Really, more what I want right now is this. So device. Yeah. So that's basically what this is doing. We have this loop. We have this call, which is right there. We are not doing that. I think we would really need that, honestly. But it is here. I think I wrote this code too, so past me seems to have thought maybe, but device, because it's self.device. I think that would always be null, or I think that would always be false on this controller as opposed to a keyboard, but we have a buffer set up already. Don't really need these functions, I don't think. Now basically what we need is just the logic. So this stuff is interesting. These do 81. Actually changing the buffer to be the size that's returned. So it makes a 64 size buffer. Then it reads from the device to find out how much data was read, because it could be less than 64. Then it goes back and makes an actual final buffer to use. This is like a temporary one. It makes one to use that is the size of count. And then it reads again also anyway. I'm not sure why it reads again, but it reads again. I guess, well, it reads again to fill buffer, the one that it ended up using actually, self.buffer. And then idle state equals the current state. Okay, that should be fine, I think. On XY, yep, we're going to keep all of those. All right, so update dictionary here. So we need to check if the B button is pressed, which from this code it's ABXY would be equaling to 0x4F. And then we're basically going to have all of these be the same. So we're just going to pre-paste all of these. Then we'll get the values. So that was B. A is 2F. Y. Nope, X is actually next. X, 1F. And the last one is 8F. So 1F. I wanted 0x8f. There we go. And then start select we don't have, but that should be here. So that is the other buttons, and that is 10 and 20 for the value. So select equals... In this one, it could be either 1 or 3. It could be 2 or 3. Fascinating. I don't know why it would be two things like that. I don't really remember much about using this PS3 one, but it seems like maybe it could be one of two values, which is interesting. In our case, it's going to be select is 0x10, and then we don't really need these anymore. Just back here. This, get rid of this, bring this back. That was 2-0, right? Yeah. Okay. And then up, down, left, right, those are here. So those are, yeah, again, that's like joystick style almost. Like I assume the value when nothing's pressed, I assume is like 4F or whatever is halfway. 8F, I guess, maybe. How to up, down index equals. So 0 is up. I'm just going to keep it as hex, even though it doesn't matter. And that one is FF. And this one would be left, right. Right, left. On left, so I'm guessing 0, yeah. Oh. Okay. This is totally doing. Oh, this is nice read there. D1. What? Does this thing get used ever? Only in the scan. Okay. I don't think we need that. Only in the verbose scan that one got used. Okay. Generic USB. So let's try this. Generic SNES USB. Now that we have that, I think we can switch this. Generic SNES USB HID. So it does still say supported hardware. Not automatically detected? Not sure what that's talking about, because I don't remember exactly which part of the code it's coming from. See if I can move. Yeah, I can move. Okay. A little slow to respond, but that's fine. Work on efficiency later. And if I recall correctly, if we like walk up to something and press a button, it will do something. Yeah, so I pressed A, and it took some of my stamina, and it also, I think, gave me an object. Yeah, this copper ore it gave me. And then I seem to also have a bunch of other things that I gave myself. Code. That thing scrolls, which is nice. It's cool. And then I think B will get us back. Yeah. Kind of Pokemon style, where B gets you into that menu and back between the world and the menu. Okay. We have control over it successfully. That's good. I think that the place where I left off, like actual things I was working on, might be like doing something with the ore on the combine table or whatever. What do I want here? I want to get this closed and go to Jewelcrafting. So inventory activity is what we saw here. That's this, I think. And then it's got subclasses that help it build itself up. Smelting panel. Okay, it looks like we don't have very much there at all. Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is basically where I left off. So the smelting panel, does it get accessed currently? I'm assuming maybe if we walk up to it, press A, just like we did the rock? Thing I got to do is try to fix the collision a little bit. The collision is kind of tight, like, in order to actually line up and get through here, it's really hard because there's no leeway. A lot of times in games, what they'll do is give you a little bit of leeway. I think we can walk back here too. Yeah, look at that. Nice. Goes over top of us. That's cool. So, yeah, okay. So smelting, and we get a list. And we have copper ore. So I assume it's like asking us what we want to smelt. I don't know if it will actually do anything. Let's see. So we get... Smelting panel is a group. It gets a label. So that's this one. And then it gets a list of crafting icons, but it starts as a generic one. Kind of interesting. It doesn't set like something on it. I guess is the default one. Well, okay, so the default one is the bracelet, which is why this is... why that's there, I guess. Well, it doesn't say emerald. Somehow it ended up with emerald in its name also. I mean, it's definitely not going to do anything. Doesn't seem like it's going to do anything if we select. So I can go up and down. Actually, I'm a little surprised that even works. Press A, for instance. Nothing happens. All right. So what we would want to happen here is convert the ore to ingots. And we should have like... yeah, we're gonna use these as ingots. It's very odd that the list works actually though. Why does the list work? The smelting panel extends group. Self.append the icon. The 0th icon, which is this one. So how did the other one get appended? How did the copper ore get in there? And where is the code that's driving the behavior of making that move up and down? So let's trace it from where we press A on... handle button event in the world activity. Okay, so we get the adjacent tiles. If the adjacent tile is rock, then we give them the ore. Okay, we also gave them, that's where we got the bracelet from. Not sure why I decided to, I think I was just testing something with the bracelet and I had it just give you that from the rock as well since this code was already set up. But, you know, like in the final game, eventually this would not give you a bracelet also. All right, so if you are in the smelter, then it just says set activity to inventory smelting. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's actually making it seem like maybe smelting is... okay, it actually uses inventory activity, but it has the smelting panel. I see. Okay. That does kind of make some sense. Okay, so inventory activity, but it creates set panel. Set panel, setting panel if it's equipment. Crafting panels, setting. Okay, I see. Yeah. So eventually we're gonna have more than one. So it's gonna go through this list and it's gonna find the panel that matches the current thing that was requested, the current panel that's been requested here. Equipment panel is the default one for the inventory. And then this will find the smelting one and set it, which means this will also be handling the down and up because we're still inside this activity. And so it does do inventory list, instrument selected, and inventory list is outside of the panel. So actually, this panel doesn't even contain the list. Icon 0. I don't. What is this? So this says panel label. Good position 1 plus height over 2 plus 6. X is 2. I don't think we're seeing that. That might be like off the window. What is that thing saying? A press. Maybe it knows I don't have a thing in OR? Not working now. Oh, I think maybe if you're like aligned exactly with it, it doesn't work. That might be a bug, actually. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever this is, we're not actually seeing it. Story icon. So I guess icon is hidden, though. Let's say crafting icons. Okay, I think that so partially this is an exercise in what was past me thinking. Now I did not write it down, so we get to guess from the code. I think the idea here is this is like a slot that you can put an item into, one or more. In the case of the smelting thing, it's only going to accept one item, but eventually we're going to get to like the crafting table, and then it will accept multiple items. And so in that case, this would have more than one slot. And then this is getting drawn, but I think it's hidden, so we don't actually see it. And what we would do is when you're looking at this page, you scroll through the list, and when you press A on one, we want that one to go from the list into the crafting icon. So One question is, do we try to like... We'll see if I end up regretting this and changing it, but I think I'm actually leaning towards having like a handle select item, and it will get an item from the inventory activity. We'll get the item that was selected currently when they press A. Gets printed, it looks like. I need to turn off the spam before we'll be able to see it though. So we'll need to finish this. Probably just that whole item, I think. Do that, we get our ore, we go to here, that, and if I press A, we get this item here, printed. So what we would do is, I'm just gonna say if self.panel per panel, it's actually called, is it? No, it's not. Equipment panel? No. Does it store the one that it's on? Does it not store the one that it's on? It doesn't store the one that it's on. Change that. Equipment is the default one, so we'll start it on that. And then anytime we change it with this, so we know it's that. Panel equals cur panel key. So then in here we can say if current panel, I'm actually going to make it a list because I suspect we'll want to do this for the rest of the crafting ones also. Let's do this for a set. Let's make it a tuple for now. This is what is it? Smelting. We basically want to call handle select item on that instance. So we're going to go crafting panels, current panel, handle, whatever I called it, select, handle select item. And the item we're going to pass it is the same one we were printing here. Awfully long. Off for now, I think. Pass into there. So then when this gets called, we want to take that item and put it to be visible in this. Let's start with one thing at a time. And so we should be able to Do what? I think we should be able to inventory icon. Is there like a set item or something? Set item. Yeah, there is. Okay, so we should be able to call that, I'm pretty sure. Let's go self.crafting icons. Not that, actually. We will do 0 because we know there's only one. Since we're in the smelting panel, we're gonna have to worry about what to do when there's more than one later. Well, for now we go 0. Crafting icon 0. We want to go set item. Is it not? Bothers me when it shows a list but doesn't do the first thing in the list. It's like the difference between the suggester and the AI writer, even though those are like very similar things ultimately. So this will be the item we get passed, which I have not actually added here yet. So that's item. So, and then we also want to make it visible. Crafting icons 0, and it's a group. We did icon hidden. So we would want to say icon hidden false. I think that would let us like select an item and move it over to wherever that other one is. I'm not entirely sure where that other one is, but I think I should. Yeah, so here's the deal. I think that my collision detection doesn't actually work correctly. So I think when my character is perfectly exactly in line with the object and I press A, it doesn't count as being next to it. I think I might have tried to be fancy and check the corners or something, and that messed it up. But we have this, we can go. Nothing happened though. Alright, let's see. Did this get called? Side handle, select item. Yeah, I am totally just going to cheat myself the ore for now instead of having to go walk up and touch the rock every time. Here, I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll make a def underscore dev init. Basically init a bunch of things that are only for during development, like give ourselves free items and stuff. Because we know that the rock works. We don't need to walk up and actually get the ore from it every time. The final game will eventually, but we have a long way to go before we get to the final game. Here we go. So it does go inside of there. So presumably it called right stuff on the panel. Why? We called set item. This is doing a lot more hidden stuff. Right, yeah, we had different icons. I do kind of remember that, different tile grids. Oh, it should be main sheet icon. Be main sheet icon. Honestly, yeah, but main sheet icon actually is not hidden. So showing main sheet icon. And let's get rid of this. We don't actually want this. I believe the or should be a main sheet one. Ors are in the sheet. Main sheet icon. Hmm. Well, nothing ever appends the inventory icon to the instance of group. Also, nothing ever changes their location, but we're going to worry about that once we have one with more than one icon. And there we go. Okay. Now we get that. I think one question is, do I really actually want the icon by itself, or do I actually want a row that has a title also? And I'm pretty sure that we want the row that has the title also. Yeah, sure we want the row that has the title also. So I think let's actually go back to here. Might be able to just almost more or less swap this out, because I think that I made row to be pretty similar to icon. It has a set item. And that's the only thing in XY, but I think that should be okay. Oh. Oh, it takes more arguments. Item. Hmm. So item, I think it's talking about a dictionary. Essentially the same kind as the one we added. Looks like it should accept none. There we go. Okay. Do we want to remove it from the left list? Probably. We also need like an action button. So like now that this is over here, the idea would be you would like push a button to smelt it, and then it would turn into a copper ingot and go back over here. So I guess let's put a... Put a button here, or we could... I mean, I have X and Y still that are not being used. Could say like the X button is the combine button. Might be kind of nice for now to not have to like arrow over or anything. Yeah, let's do that. So let's say I'm gonna say handle craft action as a new event handler, and then in the inventory we're going to say when the Y button is pressed, so handle currently doesn't exist, so we're going to say def handle event button Y. Game. Yeah, we're basically going to do the same thing as this. If it's the smelting panel, then call... I'm not going to... don't have to pass anything in. Well, we don't have to do any of this, actually. We're going to do... well, we're going to do this part. So get the current panel and then call handle... what was it? Craft action? I think I said craft action. And then we don't have to pass anything in because it's going to be able to do... I think it has access to everything it needs inside there. If anything, maybe... actually, game. We probably should pass game because I think that that has the inventory in it. Actually, no. What is game in these cases? It's not getting passed anyway. Or, okay, Jewelcrafting game. Game has player. This player has inventory. Okay. Yeah, we do want to pass the game, actually. We totally do. Because we want to be able to manipulate the inventory, right? We want to be able to take one item out of inventory, add a new item to inventory. And to that end, we also want to... Well, at some point, we're going to have to worry about the fact that we have item counts as well. Chosen kind of a complex game for this game, but it's like this could be 2, and then we would only want to put 1 over there, maybe, or maybe we would want the user to have a choice of how many. It's actually an interesting idea. I don't know. Could be cool to do a whole stack at once. However much they stack to, but that's way ahead of ourselves. Let's worry about 1 for now. I want to pass the game through from here. Y. Game, we'll pass that in, and then into here we accept the game. And pretty much we just need the inventory, but it'll give us the rest of the stuff too if we need it, like for different well, stamina actually on the player as well. We could maybe just do the player. That's all right. We're going to do the whole game for now. And so the craft action for smelting is going to give you back an ingot for the kind of ore that you have. So we essentially need a like logic that says that checks the kind of ore you have and then gives you back the ingot. Where did I put that dev init? Is that in world? It's in world. Should probably actually be in game instead. me just make sure I didn't break it with that. It all works just like it did. And what we want to do, get this ready. Actually trying to document this. This was actually supposed to just be a comment for code to use later. All right, so we want, I'm gonna say craft dictionary. So this is gonna be the name to the item it creates. I'd like to have like a main list of these, like all the items that exist in the game somewhere. Would be kind of nice to have, I think. Items. So this is or I want it this way. Or I don't want to have to like use this whole object everywhere where I want to reference that type of item. No, I don't want to buy any viewers. Copper ingot. So the difference is the sprite index, which is... I don't know if this should have count in here either. Count is like... slightly separate. Really, this is mostly for the artwork, the name and the artwork. This should tell you which sprite sheet it comes from, what the name of the object is, and then eventually this could also contain things like the colors or whatever, because there's like a thing that defines what colors to use, which is how it's going to eventually be able to say like an emerald ring versus a ruby ring versus a diamond ring, and then recolor the sort of like jewel part of it. But let's worry about that bridge when we cross it. Let's find the index of this, which is copper ingot number 0, actually. Okay. So here... so the craft dictionary is copper ore goes to the object that we find in here at copper ingot. And that's going to include everything it needs for its sprite and everything. Okay, so that's our dictionary. We're going to add more types of ore when we need to, but I want to make sure the first one works. So that's our dictionary. So our Basically what we're going to do is if the item which is on our crafting item, so if crafting icons 0, which actually is now a row, so we need to, oh, it has an item still though. That's fine. It has an item still. We say item name in crafting dictionary. What we want to do is, let's say result item equals crafting dictionary. Up that, and then game.player dot, it was inventory, but then we have like an add. We have an add to inventory. That's what we want to do, actually. Yeah. Game.player.add to inventory result item. Yes. And we also want to remove the other one. We don't have a remove item yet. We should probably make that. One question is, do we call remove as soon as we add it to the... Should we call remove as soon as we add it to the crafting icon? Or should we only call remove... I think we should only call remove when we craft it. We should just treat the crafting icon as like it's part of the inventory, but it's like a selected item from the inventory. And if you leave the crafting table without crafting, that means you'll still have your item, which is what I want as well. Yeah, and then each time you come back to it, it should also reset to blank instead of showing you the last time's item. But we'll worry about that later as well. All right, so remove from inventory. If this is... If it's... so if that... Okay, yeah, because it's like removing the count, I guess, right? So... so if the existing index is... Yeah, you can't remove an item you don't have. You can't remove an item you don't have. So... I don't know, we're going to make this... yeah, item, we'll just say item not found. And then what we want to do is, if the count of that is 1, then we're going to remove it entirely from the list. And if the count's not 1, then we're going to just subtract. We're going to subtract 1 from the count. So get the item at that index, and then get the count of that item, and minus equals 1 from that. So remove from inventory will remove a single instance of that item. And then back to here, we can go add the result item and remove the crafting item. So game.player.remove this item. And we should also blank out the crafting icon, since that thing's no longer there. Or should we? Maybe that's how we could let them do multiple, is if it just stays there. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if this even works. The other thing we would need to do still, though, I think, is refresh the inventory. So because we're modifying the inventory from the smelting panel, the inventory activity is what's showing. And it has an inventory list. but it doesn't have like a, let's have refresh or something. Made visible count 4. Looks like we made a scrollable list, essentially. We wrote none. How does it get populated? When you're in the world and you press B, it says set activity inventory. This is inventory. It sets items on the inventory list. Okay, so that refreshes it. Nice. Okay. So I think what we could do is actually we need to get, so the thing is we actually need we need to get the inventory list from the inventory activity. But we're actually a part of the inventory activity. Build activities. We have inventory activity on game, so we can just go game inventory activity inventory list. So we would say game inventory activity inventory list items equals game player story. I think that will cause it to refresh. Module items 6. Not run this since doing that. Maybe this wants the dot like inventory row, I guess. Thought I had run it that in there already, but we're there, and then X. Or did I do Y? Y or X? We actually hooked it up either way, though. Let's see. Actually, so we have both of those actually don't do anything. So then we did inventory activity handle the, I said Y button here, but I do actually want X, I think. Handle button Y, that's going to call the craft action button X. We need to make sure to call handle event button X here. If, well, let's put it through to the game actually. If group I feel like this is slow. I don't want to do this. If alright, well let's just say that you have to have that, or else maybe we do a try catch or something. So let's just say main group 0 handle event button That will call it on inventory activity, which will then pass it into crafting panel. And then I think that means world activity needs to have this as well, but it'll just not do anything. All right, and then here, game.handleX. Player has no add item. I think it was add inventory. Maybe it needs to be a player.inventory. Player.add item. I think it's add to inventory or something. It's got a different name. Add to inventory. Oh, I got in line with it. X. There we go. Okay, so now we have a copper ingot over here. And it did leave the copper ore there. It means technically this is an item dupe, actually, if I just press X again. Oh, just kidding. Oh, nice. We got our value error. I was going to say, I think that's an item dupe because it won't check if we actually have the item, but it does. That's actually pretty cool. Eventually we'll catch that and give like a, you can't do that because you don't have the item. For now, I think I'm happy to have it just crash though. That's fine. Okay. Do we want to remove it from, I guess it should like remove it from the list if you don't have any more, basically. Yeah, it should remove it from the crafting icons if you don't have any more. But can you do that? Can we go back to, so an inventory row, we can create it with none. Can we set item it to none? Doesn't look like we can. Inventory icon. But inventory icon, it doesn't have logic for none. Okay. I think we go, if item is none, main sheet, what? Main sheet icon hidden through self.item equals none. Self.icon hidden. So let's make all of those hidden and set the item to none whenever this gets set to none for the icon. Then for the row, you can say if item is none. That dude is not over here. I don't know why it did opposite. If item is none, and also here it should just return also. Be done after that. Don't need to do anything else. Here, actually, we're going to return at the end. So if item is none, item equals no. Self.icon.item equals none. Self.count label equals blank. Self.name label equals blank. And we'll just say count equals Guess this defaults to 1. Maybe we should do. And then that returns. Okay, so now we can set that. So let's say after you craft, player, you could say index of item. So if game.player.index of item, I'm gonna actually make a crafting item. So if the index of that is -1, which means they no longer have any of those items, then we're gonna set item equals otherwise it should keep it there, and you should be able to do it multiple times if you have multiple ores in this case, or whatever the crafting item needs to be. That still will crash. Oh, actually we got none. Interesting. 48? Why did that not crash? Oh, because this tried to access. No. Okay, it didn't work actually, is one thing. Crafting icons 0. Well, it shouldn't be item though. Should it? A row has set item actually. Be set item. Okay. I got rid of the text, but not the icon. Icon is a inventory item. Oh, this also has set item, not a property setter. Just in property setter mode here. Ooh. The set item. Gotta fix that collision at some point. There we go. Okay, so we got our copper ingot back, and we no longer have the ore on the other side. Press X again, it does still crash, but that's because there's no logic that's like making sure that you have an item over there. It's fine for now. Eventually we'll come back and fix that. Let's check the counts though. So if we get multiple ores, we should be able to just press X multiple times to get multiple ingots. So in this case, I will go back to the rock, and I'll press A couple more times to get more ores. Then we'll go to the smelter. So I have 4 total. And 3 bracelets, because it's giving me a bracelet every time. Okay, so that set the count to 4 though. don't actually want that, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think we want that. I think we want the count to always be 1. So when we press A for the smelting panel, so when we handle select item, so this is saying crafting icons dot set item selected item. Let's actually just say item count equals 1. That would, I think that would make this do what I want. Lined up on it perfect again. There we go. Now there's 1 copper ore. If I press X once, ooh, we get the ingot, but it didn't let us keep the other copper ore. The other copper ore go away. From inventory crafting item. So existing item, that would say item not found. Count should have not been 1. Let me give myself 2 or some more of these here. So we have more copper ore. I guess I could change the count. All right. So we have 3. Put 1 in. Turn it to an ingot. Item count inside remove was 1. Yeah, I think that that's because of... I don't know why that's that way. The trade.existingindex.count. Are those not getting... either not getting combined? Just print the whole inventory? This is after we add the ingot. Oh. How does this show 1, but the number here showed 3 correctly? Like that shows 3 in the inventory. And then this shows 3 in the inventory / smelting panel. How did that show 3 correctly if this is actually set to 1? Okay, so open the inventory, and it does say count 3 there. Close the inventory. And that one's still showing count 3 there. Go to the smelter. Still says count 3. But as soon as we actually do I'd set item. As soon as we press A, so we get a new instance of item row, which has a count of 1. Because we set that there. I guess this is like updating the 1. This is like updating the actual 1. I think we have a reference to value problem again this week. Weeks in a row. Really what I want, I guess, is a copy of this dictionary. Python copy dictionary. And I want it to be separate. We have lists. Yeah, we should do a deep copy. Deep copy. I don't know if we have that. I don't think we have that. Does the dictionary have copy? Does. Let's try that one. Hopefully that will work. So if we get an item, what we really want to do is, let's say crafting item equals item.copy. And then crafting item.count, and then crafting item here. Because we don't actually want to modify the inventory to 1. The point of doing the 1 was just to make it so that the one on the right side, the one that's in the crafting slot, would show. There we go. Okay, so yeah, it took away 1 ore and it gave us 1 ingot. Took away another ore, gave us another ingot. Took away the last ore, gave us 4 ingots. It's a little awkward. What would it give us 4? We were on a roll there. They give us 4 on the last one. No remaining. No remaining crafting items. Set that to none. Should we make another copy here? Should this be copy? All right, let's make sure this prints on the last one. Actually, don't really have much of a theory as to why it would do this. So weird. Do 2, we're fine. Do the third one and we get no remaining. And then it suddenly jumps to 4. And we did have, it does say no remaining. So we got to here, we called set item. All right, add that, X. So after 1 combine, we have 2 ores and 1 ingot, which is correct. After a second combine, we have 1 ore and 2 ingots, which is correct. And after a third combine, we have 4 ingots. And that's it, 4 ingots. Interestingly, it does still show this as 4 and 2. Instead of just 4. Weird. And this still shows, and this shows 4 ingots. So nothing shows 2 anymore, but somehow this 2 is also getting drawn. Which is a bit weird. I think so. Yeah, okay, so this is the problem. So this is going to go, this is going to loop over range, whichever's less, 4 or the length of items. And in our case, the length of items is 1 at the very end when we have 4 ingots, which I don't know, I still don't know why we end up with 4 ingots, but let's just worry about the fact that we have 4 and it's showing 4 and 2. That's what I'm trying to solve most immediately. There's only a single item in the list, of course, because it has count on it. So the length of this is actually going to be 1, which means 1 is less than 4, which means that's going to loop over only the first item in the inventory and set it. There's nothing that's like getting rid of items that were shown on different lines previously. I think what we need to do is actually always loop to 4. And then basically if items I, like this should give us an index error, I think. We should catch it and then set it to none instead of something. I just go here, it goes index out of range on 81. Try index error, set item 1. So we should have all the logic we need inside there now, I think. Okay, so inventory works. Go to here, add that, do the combine. I'm going to close out. Back. It's out here. That's working still. Stuff. Go back to here. This is already still loaded up actually, so I can just press X. And that gets me the second copper ingot. And I can do it again, and that gets me the 4th copper ingot. Although, again, I still don't actually have any idea why we go from 2 to 4. Not go from 2 to 4. That's the next problem to solve. But we did get rid of the extra one here. That's good. Why does it give us 2 on the last combine? You know what? We should make this a, that might actually be the problem. Maybe that's the problem. I don't have a clear idea in my head why that would lead to just an additional +1 extra. But we do potentially not want to be, yeah, I mean, we don't want to be modifying those because those are like a sort of a master record of all the objects. They're like a database of what objects exist in the game, not like instances we want to keep track of really and be able to change. Oop, I pressed twice. That's okay. Okay, yeah, that was doing it to us. Again, I don't know exactly why, but basically we were modifying the instance of that item in this like sort of top level database of items, and I really didn't want to be. This is meant to be just almost like just a definition of what kinds of items exist at all. It's weird because they have count. We should probably take that out of there. That's going to be a problem for future Tim. But it's not meant to actually be an instance that has an associated, like, update this one and, like, keep track of the change. It's really always just supposed to be give me the sort of essence of that item that exists. Basically, the stuff it needs to draw, the sprite stuff, is really what it is. Okay, so that's working. We can now combine ores in the smelting thing. We get back ingots, and we're good to go there. Got about 20 minutes. I'm going to run to the restroom real quick, so I'll be right back. Okay, check the dictionary entries. I think I saw 2 descriptions that were the same. Or ingot, copper, or. Oops, sorry, a couple minutes behind live. Yeah, no worries. I definitely did have that, actually. So you might, yeah. You might be back where I had that before, actually. I do remember that. Okay, I think about 20 minutes. I don't necessarily think I could tackle anything else huge. But why don't we make this work for the other ores? I haven't even started really messing with the other ores just yet, but we can have this be kind of the first thing. So we have a little big. Okay, so copper. I think my plan was copper, silver, gold, and then platinum. And yeah, copper, silver, gold, and platinum, and then I don't know. I'm not sure what these were for exactly, but they're there. Maybe we'll use them eventually. So silver ore, gold ore, and platinum ore we want to be able to do. And we'll want the ingots eventually as well, actually. So I'm just going to copy both. Silver ore. Or need to get the... So the ingot will be 1. One's easy. That actually is also easy because we just do +1. Cool. Oops, I forgot a... This would be 2. That's 10. Platinum. Oop. Titanium? And then let's cheat ourselves some of these other things. Oh, right. Let's do this while we're here from items. Can actually say add to inventory items for maybe we should have a like a get item function or something that does the copy for us. I can't forget to do that. Get item. Name. That actually just import item. Then we can call get. I'd eventually call it like lookup item or something, just to try to make it slightly more clear that it's like really what it's getting is the definition of the item and not an instance again in the game. Just the concept of that item. We want to pass it around to different things, but we wouldn't need to call copy anymore, actually. Not sure why these didn't have commas before. I must have erased the prior commas, I guess. This will do those. Have items somewhere else still or no? Game I was doing. Item. On the upside, now this is way shorter. That will give us 3 of each kind, and we should be able to smelt each kind into the appropriate ingot. Everything actually works. Inventory, so we do have 3 of each kind. Go to the smelter. And we can add a copper. Can do that. Oh, right. So we only show 4 things. So I have to actually scroll to find the ingot. Maybe we should put the new one at the top instead of the bottom. Alright, so can we put silver ore? We can. Can we combined? That should give us the silver ingot. Back and do gold ore. Combine. That should give us the gold ingot. Then platinum. Uh-oh. You know what it's doing is it's always taking the index. So it works as long as you're not scrolled. But if you're scrolled, then it's wrong. It gives you the one that's at like the literal index instead of the scrolled index. So that is in here. No, that is in This just gets past an item, so that's go the next level up. That's inventory activity. I've closed. Reactivity, handle A, panels, handle select item, and it is passing in the selected index. It should be the selected index plus the scroll amount, or arguably the selected index should just account for the scroll amount. I don't even see a selected index. Oh, well, this is not the list. Index. Visible index. What does this use? Nothing special. This creates multiple inventory rows in a triangle to move between them. Selected index is visible count. How does it offset when we scroll, though? Just resets the items. Shift visible items. Index. Shift visible items. But it doesn't take, like, up or down. It just goes plus I. Down, I guess, only. But we can scroll up, too. All right, let's look in inventory activity, handle the up and down buttons. How does this work? Oh, there's increment and decrement. Interesting. Free list. Okay, so if the selected index is equal to the visible count minus 1. So our visible count is 4. We're showing 4 at a time right now. So if the selected index, if it's on the last one, it's on the last one in the list, then the visible index, then if the visible index plus the visible index count is less than the length of items, then increment the visible index and shift items. All right, so I think the visible index is what I was thinking of as like an absolute, more like an absolute, like it's the absolute index of the top item that's visible at the current scroll. Does kind of make sense. So at any given time, the selected index plus the visible index should give you the like logical index, the one where it's actually pointing at. Arguably, this should account for it automatically, if we're going to be honest, I think. I don't know if that's going to break something else, though. Very possible that's going to break something else. But I do like it better, like the inventory list should encapsulate that behavior. It should not make the code that's calling it worry about adding those things together. Scrolling is not broken. So if we go down, and now if I do silver ore, okay, now it works. We can get, so it did reset me to the top of the list, but that's fine. Go platinum ore, and that works, and we're scrolled way down. I can go X, and again, it reset me to the top. It'd be nice if it didn't do that, but it did. Ooh, okay, that's bad. So now it selected the copper ingot. But now it's off again. I think that maybe that reset is actually bad. I think, so when it reset, I think it probably basically did not account for the visible index. Guessing. So what did we actually do when we reset? Why is that happening? So we basically, from smelting panel, we added to the inventory. Which just manipulated the items in the dictionary. That hasn't updated the display yet, so that shouldn't have scrolled us so far. And then remove that one, and again, that still is just manipulating the data in the inventory. It still shouldn't actually draw it, I don't think. And then here, though, so we go inventory list items equals inventory, and I think that is where it's getting redrawn. And this is always going back to range 4. So what it should do is it should be range I4. So it should be I plus visible index. Is that right? No, that's not. Not right. It should be items I. So this should be I. This one should be plus visible index. Yeah, that's right. Put the copper ore, combine it. Down there's copper ingot, put the platinum, combine it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now it doesn't scroll. And the ingot there is correct. So let's do gold. Add it. Okay. Silver, let me scroll down one just so silver is... So testing out the new thing. 2 combines, we should get 2 silver ingots. If I do the third combine... I didn't need to scroll up actually, but that's okay. If I do the... But it scrolled us now because the list changed, like an item is gone. So then stuff does shuffle, but... And we got 1 of each type except silver, we got 3. And the scrolling is still working, so I think we're actually good there. We're all good. All right, cool. I think that is where we're going to wrap it today. So we got basically all of the nuts and bolts of combining items at a crafting table. So smelting is like one kind of crafting table. We got all the nuts and bolts of combining items there, getting new items back, putting them in the inventory, getting this to show correctly, getting it to subtract correctly, all that kind of stuff. So I think hopefully we're going to be able to just define a new kind of panel. Like the next one would be maybe the gem cutting bench or whatever, the gem cutting panel. And at that panel, you're going to put in a gem and get back a cut gem. And then there'll be one more, the actual like Jewelcrafting panel, where you take an ingot and a cut gem and you combine those together to get a jewelry item. And it might be more than 1 ingot. Like maybe a ring takes 1 ingot, but a necklace takes 2 or whatever, right? Maybe there's just different things like that. But and I believe it should be relatively well. Okay, one thing to consider is these. Yeah. So right now these are a single item. That's going to be something to solve. When we get to the actual jewel crafting table, we're going to have to deal with multiple item combines. So we're going to have to figure out how to look up a recipe that has 2 items. Right now, we kind of have the recipe is the key of this dictionary, but it's kind of only a single thing. So I don't know. That'll be an interesting one. We'll solve that one when I get to that jewel crafting panel though. We'll do the cutting one first, I think. Alrighty, I'm gonna head out. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to Grover. Picked up a couple of Python nuggets. Nice. Happy that you got a couple of them out of there. I believe I should be back at the normal times next week. I think I said last week I was going to do the deep dive, and I ended up not being around yesterday, so I was wrong about that last week. But I'm pretty sure next week is basically a normal week for me. So deep dive Friday afternoon, my time zone. It's 4 p.m. Central Time, or it's usually billed 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific for deep dive on Friday over on the Adafruit channel, and then I'll be back on my channel on the 6th, 1 week from today, 10 a.m. Central Time, for some more CircuitPython. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good weekend. I will see you later. Thanks for watching.